This conference will now be recorded.
Today we learn about what is a class, what is a method, how to create the methods and how to access the methods, because these are very basics to start with the Selenium test cases. See, Java provided many predefined classes. While learning few topics, we have come across many predefined classes available in the Java. String, object, these array lists, linked lists, all are the various predefined classes available in Java. See, this string class provided some ready-made methods, equals, ignore case. Object class provided some method. Array list provided some method, add, get, size. All are the ready-made methods already available in these Java classes. A similar way, Selenium is a API. The Selenium also provided a set of predefined classes. Each class provided a set of predefined methods. If I know the concept of what is a class and what is a method, then only I can make use of Java classes and methods, Selenium classes and its methods to drive my test case execution. So to understand the concept of what is a class and what is a method, today we are going to learn this topic. Well, so today learning objectives are understanding the concept of a class, understanding the concept of a method, how to create a method, how to call the methods. Finally, today we need to get clear idea about class concept in object-oriented programming. Look at this. You tell me to your knowledge, you ping me your answer. You ping me your answer. To your knowledge, what is a class? What is a class in Java? Yes, answer me. What is a class in Java? Class used to explain an object. Good. A class used to explain an object. Excellent. What is the object here? Any real-time entity can be called as an object. Any real-time entity can be called as an object. Okay. Now here in front of us, we have an object mouse, correct? In front of us, we have an object keyboard or mouse. This mouse will have some properties. This keyboard will have some properties. Even our laptop also will have some properties. If we consider the laptop, brand name, Apple, Lenovo, color, weight, its cost. These are the few properties of the laptop object. Name of the laptop is one property, color of the laptop, price of the laptop, weight of the laptop, are few properties of the laptop object, correct? Similarly, we can start the laptop, we can start using the laptop, we can shut down the laptop. These are various functionalities available in the laptop. Start, using it, shut downing. Similarly, when you consider the mouse object, mouse has a name, Logitech. Mouse has a color and we have some other properties for the mouse. Similarly, left click, right click, scroll, move, or various functionalities offered by the mouse. See, anything you are seeing can be called as an object. Anything we are seeing around can be called as a real-time entity. Such real-time entities are nothing but an object. Java programming or Python programming or C#.NET programming, all programming languages available in the market today are completely object-oriented. Object-oriented, meaning if you are developing a software application using some programming, first we need to identify the entities involved in the business, various transactions involved in the business. Every transaction can be considered as a real-time entity. Then we have to define the classes with appropriate functions. By grouping all these classes and methods together, we can able to construct the project. A class can be called as a blueprint for an object. A class can be called as a template for explaining an object. Okay, for example, here in this package, I'm creating a class with the name car. I'm creating this class to demonstrate functionalities of a car. Here my class name is car. Just a minute. Here I'll define. In the examples package, I'm creating a class with the name car. Okay. Now, so what is a method here? I defined a class with the name car. What do you mean by method? What do you mean by method? Yes, what do you mean by method? A set of statements defined to accomplish a specific task can be called as a method. A set of statements defined to accomplish a specific task can be called as a method, correct? Here, I'm defining few input fields for the car object. Name, color, price, one variable to store the number of wheels. Here I declare one variable to store the name of the car. Here I declare one variable to store the name, color of the car. Here I declare one variable to store the price of the car, similarly number of wheels of the car. Okay. I'm defining some functions here. Public, static, void, name of the function, start car. Public, static, void, and start car. But here, these are name of the method, start car. And you are going to write the code here. Supposing just I'm putting some temporary code. the car started something like this. Coming to the syntax of defining a method, first of all, what is a method? See, mostly in Java programming we call as method. In most of the other programming languages, same will be called as a function. Finally, a function or a method both are same. So what is a function or what is a method? A method or a function is a group of statements designed to perform a specific task. A method is a group of programming statements developed to perform a specific task item. See here, you can write some code to start a car. A method is a group of programming statements designed to perform a specific task item. Right here. After executing the task item, method may return a value. May meaning it is not mandatory, optional. A method may return a value or may not return a value. For example, I created a method in testing point of view I'm explaining. I created a method to check login working or not, say Gmail login working or not. So here, public static void method name. Here, I'm giving a method name. This is the syntax of creating a method. Public static void method name. Some method may require the input values, input arguments. Argument 0, argument 1, and so on, argument 10. Here arguments are nothing but the input data. Here, this public is not mandatory, optional. If you want to make a method as static, we have to use a keyword static, otherwise not required. If your code not returning any data void, if really your code returning any data in place of void, you have to mention return type. So public static void or return type, method name and arguments. Here we have to put the statements. Statement 1, your code. Statement 2, and so on, statement n. So this is the code you have created to execute. Whenever this method was called, the code inside the method gets executed. Supposing my code is enter the username value, enter the password value, and click submit button. If appropriate page displayed, I want to return a value, otherwise I do not want to return a value. If really your function want to return a value, we have to use a keyword, return, and value to be returned. If your code not returning any data, this statement also not needed. If your code not returning any data, here the return type should be void, This code returning any data, the return type, data type to be mentioned here. Right. Now, first of all, what is this public? Let me explain all the keywords one by one here in my syntax. What is this public keyword? Listen, I'm creating some other project here. Say I'm giving a name, my project. I given a name, my project. Now in this project, it's a Java project we have created, right? In SRC, you know SRC meant for user-defined programs. We can have one project may have multiple packages. Supposing this is package 1. The same way, one project will have multiple packages. Say it is package 2. Say it is package 3. First, you answer me, what is a package? What is a package? Here, in my previous project, examples is a package. Java Basics is a package. A package will have, a package is a kind of a subfolder which contain a set of classes or interfaces. In Java tutorials is my project. I created multiple subfolders. For your understanding, I'm using a word subfolders inside my project, but technically speaking, these should be referred as packages. So one project will have multiple packages, kind, a subfolder inside your project. In each package, you can have multiple classes. Supposing in package 1, I have class 1. In the package 1, I have class 2. Class 1, class 2 are the class names inside the package 1. Like java.util is a package. Similarly, in the package 2, class 1. In the same package, class 2. See, this is a Java class present inside some package 1. This is the class, another class it is, another class present in another package 2. Okay. Now, in this class 1, I define a method. Void my method name. For example, some method. Right. Where is this method available? This is a very simplest syntax of creating a function. Where is the method available? Inside the class 1 of package 1. So by default, this method is accessible only inside the package 1. We cannot call and use this method in other packages like package 2 and package 3. This method available inside the class 1 of package 1. So by default, the maximum scope of the method limited to the current package. What do you mean by current package here? You answer me. This method, whatever I have defined, supposing if I write some code, this method you can access, we can call only in the current package, that is in the package 1. You cannot call this method in other packages. Now, if I make this method as public, what's the meaning of public? Public. Anywhere. So if I make this method as public, now this method I can access in package 1, in package 2, also in package 3. That is, now you can access this method among all packages inside your project. I hope you understood this. If I remove the keyword public, the maximum scope of the method is limited to the current package where it is defined. If I use a keyword public, you can access the method anywhere inside your project. Anywhere in the project means among all packages inside your project. If really you want to access a method across all packages in your project, then go for the keyword, public keyword. Right. I hope you understood this right. Then, now here we have observed in the syntax, I'm explaining all the arguments one by one. Here we have static. Even the static also not mandate, it is optional. It is optional. See, generally in any programming syntaxes, when something put inside the square brackets like this, it is called optional. Now, here I'll continue. Methods means functions are of two types. Methods are of two types. They are static methods and non-static methods. Methods are of two types, static methods and non-static methods. Static meaning, generally what is the other meaning of static? Constant methods, non-static methods. See here, we are trying to create a template or a blueprint for an object. Here, I'll say car is one object, car one object, bike one object, even bus also one object. All these objects has few common functions, common functionalities. Tell me what are the common functionalities available in these three objects? Some objects will have some common functionalities. Car, bike, bus example I am given here. You tell me what are the various common functionalities available in these three types of objects. Start, run, stop, move, wheels. Correct. All these objects have few common functionalities like start. Car we have to start, even bike we have to start, even bus we have to start. Accelerate. You have to even accelerate a car or accelerate a bike, and we have to even accelerate a bus. Accelerate is nothing but the move, correct? Then maybe here, this car or bike or bus will have some gearing system. First gear, second gear, something like this. Move gear. Something like this. Okay. Similarly, stop. Simple example. All these objects will have some common functions: start, accelerate, and stop. These kind of functions, methods, should be of type static. These kind of methods, if you are defining these kind of methods, they should be of type static. Similarly, you tell me some features. See here, I'll create a car class. I'll create a class car. I'll create another class bike. I'll create another class bus. If the starting procedure is same for all, same for all, definitely I'll make it as static, so that same functionality, same code I can use for any kind of objects. Here, few functionalities may vary from object to object. Here, in the car, I have an option reverse gear. Reverse gear. In the bus also we have this option reverse gear, but we don't have in the bike. We don't have this option in the bike. So a simple example. Similarly, in a car, I have an option enable sport drive in advanced premium cars, which we don't have in other objects. Such kind of function should be of type non-static, like reverse gear, enable sport drive. We don't have this kind of function for all these objects. These kind of functions should be of type non-static. So finally, while creating a function, at first we have to decide whether we have to create it as a static function or a non-static function. Similarly, take some other example. Take another scenario. Here, we have different browsers to access internet-based applications. Like Firefox is one browser, Chrome another browser, Internet Explorer, Opera, Safari, etc. Right. So in all these browsers, we have some common functions. You tell me what are the few common functions available in all these browsers? In Firefox, Chrome, IE, Opera, Safari, are different browsers available to access internet-based applications. See here, any browser you take, access the URL, correct? You enter a URL and click go button. All these browsers have an option, enter URL, so that you can access the required application, whatever the application you want. And in all these browsers, we have some navigation option. Navigation options like back button, we have forward option, and we have back or next, nothing but. And delete the cookies. In all browsers, we have option. Yes, we have refresh option, minimize the browser. We can maximize the browser. We can close the browser. See, all these browser has this kind of functions, correct? All these browser has all these common functions. These kind of functions should be of type static. If I'm really writing some programs to interact with different browsers, definitely I make all these functions as static functions because they are available in all the browsers. They are present in all the browsers. See here, let us assume we have a functionality in Firefox browser which is not present in other browsers. Meaning that functionality is specific to a particular object, not common for all. Such kind of functions should be of type non-static. Such kind of method should be of type non-static. Okay? If really there is a functionality available in the Firefox browser which is not present in the other browsers, if I am creating the code, such kind of code or such kind of function should be of type non-static. So, while creating the methods, first we need to understand and decide whether to make it as static or non-static. If I want to make it as static, I'll use the keyword static. If I want to define a method as a non-static, no static keyword which is optional, void the method name. Okay, here this is my method 1 and this is my method 2. Now in this program, this is called a static function and this is non-static function. This is static method, it is non-static method. Okay, here, okay, I'll do this. So let us go back to the syntax. First, see, I'm just teaching you the syntax of creating a method. Public and static. I hope these two words are understood. Now, void. What is void? Supposing here, we write some code, some programming statement. Let's assume this method is created to launch some application. Here I write some Selenium code to invoke the application. Just invoke the application. Just invoke the application. After invoking the application, my function not doing anything else. For example, let's assume the first statement is, so for your understanding, I am writing the code in English. Don't think Java will understand this kind of English. We have to learn the selenium command for this. My first statement say open the browser. Let's assume my second statement enter URL and click go. So this is the selenium code I have created. Finally, assume that this is the code I have developed to invoke my application in my first method. In the second method, enter username, first step, enter password, second step, click login, next step. After clicking login, supposing if I continue my code like this, verify appropriate page displayed or not. If displayed, return test case pause, else return. So it is not actual code. Just for your understanding, I am putting like this. Return test case fail. Here, my second method performing some actions, checking that functionality working or not. If working, it is returning test case pass, otherwise returning test case fail. So definitely this should be, we have to give the appropriate return type. For example, string, because here my code returning a string test case pass, otherwise test case fail. Finally, it returns either test case pass or test case fail with a string. Here you must mention the return type as a string. In place of void, we have to use the return type string. Here, my first function not returning any data, just it is performing an action. After performing some actions, this code returning some data back. In this scenario, we have to mention the return type, either string or if really your code returning a Boolean value true or false. Supposing here I am checking the appropriate module or page displayed or not. If displayed, return true. Otherwise, return false. Here the return type should be Boolean. Supposing some other functionality may return a double value, may return a character value, may return different kind of data. Whatever the data your method returning after performing an action, perform some action, execute some action, finally return the data. That return type to be mentioned. So just I'm explaining you the syntax. Public, static, either void or return type. If a code not returning any data, void. If a code returning any data after executing the task item, data type, return type to be mentioned, and we have to give a meaningful name. Like instead of method 1, I'll give a meaningful name like launch app, launch the application. Instead of method 2, I'll give a meaningful name, for example, login. We have to give a meaningful name. Even for the class also, instead of class, like this one, supposing here, my home page, or home page is a class name, my project home page. Home page is a class. In the home page, what are the functionalities available? Invoking the application, login, and log out, something like that. We have to give a meaningful name. And Here, arguments are optional. Supposing here, I'm creating one more method to close the application. For example, I'm creating one more function to close the application. Public. Okay, I'll make it a static because every browser needs to be closed. Launch application. Every application needs to be launched in the same way. And we have close application here. Definitely close application also same code. Close application. The return type I mentioned as void. Public static void and close application. Here I'll write the code. Close application code I'm going to write here. Well, so here one method I have created to launch my application, one method I created to log in, and one method I created to close my application. Well, so what are the inputs required for this launch application? You answer me, what are the inputs required for launching the application? Here input arguments also optional. If really this method needs some input data to execute this code, I repeat, if really this method needs any input data to execute this code, you have to supply the input data while calling the method. They are input arguments. If the method does not require any input data, you can remove this part, which is optional, not mandatory. Now you tell me, what are the inputs required for launching this application? Any application. URL, well said. URL, good. So here, data type, string, name of the input argument, URL. String URL. Okay, in the same way, you tell me what are the input arguments required for the login. String, user ID. In this scenario, strings and password. User ID also a string, password also a string. This method needs only one input value URL. Whereas this method login needs multiple input values, username and password. String UID, comma, string password. If really this is some other function, supposing this is a function I created to find an employee details, int employee number. Integer employee number. Here, this one I'm talking about. So in this scenario, all are strings. Well, so what is the input required to close the application? What are the input arguments required to close the application? Yes. What are the input arguments required for closing the application? No, for closing the browser, do you supply any data? Do you supply any data to close a browser? To invoke the application, we have to supply the URL. To log in, we have to supply the username value and password value. For closing the application, yes, no need to supply any data, nothing. So what I'm trying to say here, in this scenario, there are no input arguments. These input arguments are also optional, right? So this is the complete syntax of creating a function or creating a method. You do confirm you understood, only I have explained the syntax. I have explained the syntax of creating a function. I hope you understood the syntax. Public. If you define a method inside a class without using the public keyword, by default, that method is accessible only in the current package. If you want to access a method among multiple packages inside your project, you have to go with a keyword public. The methods are of two types: static, constant, non-constant, non-static. If you are creating a function which is common for multiple objects like launch the browser, close the browser, common for all the browsers available in the market, Such kind of function should be defined as static function. If you are creating a function which is specific to that particular object, see here, keyboard one object, mouse one object. In mouse, I have a function left click. In mouse object, I have a functionality left click, right click. Do we have these two functions in the keyboard? Such kind of function should be of type non-static. If there are some functionalities which are common for all, such kind of function should be of type static. If you are creating a function which is specific to a particular object, such function should be of type non-static. So while creating a function, it is the programmer intelligence. You have to decide and define whether to make it a static or non-static. Anyhow, down the line while creating, we are going to create n number of functions. You will get more clarity about when to go for static and when to go for non-static. Okay. Finally, a function is defined to execute some task. Invoke application, login as admin and check admin login working or not. Register a new employee and check employee registration functionality working or not. For that, we are going to write the code. If I just want to perform some task, no return type. After performing the task, I want to return some data. Then only we have to mention the return. We have to use a keyword return. What is the value you want to return? So if a code returning any data, you have to mention the return type. If a code not returning any data, we have to mention void. We have to use void. If a code not returning any data, void. If a code returning any data, return type to be mentioned, and we have to give a meaningful name for the method. And see here, do remember is always these guidelines. It's not mandatory. It is not a force, but it is better while creating a class. Start your class name with the uppercase character. See here, home page, H in uppercase. Any class I created, you do observe, I am creating a class name with uppercase character, C. Here C in uppercase, here also C in uppercase. And we have observed in Java, see, I'll write here. I'm showing some samples in Java. You please observe all these are classes, right? Here C indicates it is a class, I indicates it is an interface. All classes do observe here, starting with uppercase character. Yes in uppercase. Now, object is another class. You please observe O starting with uppercase. Array list is another class. Oh. You see, in array list also, A available in uppercase. So, while creating a class, start your class name with the uppercase character. That is one rule you have to remember and follow. Similarly, while creating a method, start your method name with lowercase character, highlight some character in the uppercase for more readability. You do observe launch app. I given L in lowercase, the middle character I highlighted with uppercase. You please observe some string class methods, some examples. Str dot equals or equals ignore case. You do observe all the method names are starting with lowercase values. Some middle character in this scenario I and C. Here E and I. Here E and I. Some middle characters are getting highlighted with the uppercase. This is for more readability purpose. It is not a force. It is not a rule. It is suggested for more readability point of view. Hence here, launch application LI started with lowercase, AI given in the uppercase. Login. Similarly, close application also I defined like this. Some function may require input data. Some function may not require input data. If a input arguments are not mandatory, optional. If a function made in any input value, define the input argument. If a function does not require any input data, leave it. So finally, then you have to write the code based on your requirement. If a function returning any data, mention return keyword, use return keyword, value to be returned. After performing some task item, your code not returning any data, just you leave it. It is also optional, not mandatory. So here just we have learned the syntax of how to create a function. You please confirm you understood this. For hereafter, when we started developing the actual code, for reusability point of view, we have to define the function and we have to call the function. See, if you consider multiple test cases in some application like Gmail, if you consider some test scenario in Gmail application, scenario 1, or simple example, take calculate application, scenario 1 addition, scenario 2 subtraction, multiplication, division. If I am writing the code to validate these 4 scenarios, step 1, I have to invoke the application. Step 2, check addition functionality working or not. Step 3, close the application. Similarly, if we consider second scenario step, subtraction, step 1, invoke the application. Step 2, verify subtraction functionality. Step 3, close the application. If we consider another scenario, multiplication, again step 1, invoke the application. Step 2, verify multiplication. Step 3, close the application. So every time in every test case, I do not want to repeat the same amount of code. So what I will do, I create a function for invoking application. I create a function for closing calculate application. In every test case, just by calling the function, we drive the test procedure. For reusability point of view, for ease of management point of view, generally we go with functions in any programming language. For reusability purpose, we go with methods in any programming software. So I have demonstrated syntax of creating a function. Right. If mandate in offer, if not, it shows the creation of class. Well, friends, for today I stop here. And today is Sunday, right? Right. Take off tomorrow, and Monday I'll continue the session. Yes, we have to learn everything, Mr. Raj. I just given a small idea, that is today. Only I have demonstrated the syntax. We have to develop lots of functions. Many functions we have to develop. Okay? Right. Now this is the base, or I'm trying to build the base in a strong manner, and slowly I'm executing it so that, very easily we can able to develop the code. If these concepts are understood properly, developing Selenium test cases will become very easy. I stop here today. I'll upload this document into the drive, whatever I have sample document I have demonstrated. Thank you. And take care. We continue the class on Monday.